Avery, a very, very good afternoon from me in England. Morning, I think it might be. No. Where are you, on the east or the west coast?
I'm central, so I'm
Texas,
right in the middle.
You're right in the middle. Well, it's just about a late good morning to you. This is introducing Avery Rowles, who's the clinical director at Santé. And my name is Mark Drax, talking to Avery about the Santé Treatment Center on behalf of SASH. Avery, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Avery, I wish this was in person. Thanks to COVID, we have to do this using this wonderful Zoom. I've got you here on gallery view, so at some point in the future, this will be posted somewhere, and our gorgeous faces will be beaming this information out to whoever cares to watch it. So for now, we sent you a couple of questions about a week ago. So how about we run through them and we hear about the Santé Center? Is that good for you?
That sounds great.
Fantastic. So I've got my twin screens going here. So the only reason I'm going to look to the left occasionally is to remind myself of the question. I promise you, I'm not reading my emails. Avery, first one. So what do you think makes Santé unique in the industry?
We've been around for 26 years with virtually we've had the same owners since day one. We have had the same executive leadership for over 20 of those years. So stability is what I would say is our hallmark. We have consistently grown and improved on our programs since the day we opened. That's what I would say makes us unique, is that we are a team of dedicated professionals who have been there for years and years and years and understand addiction from the ground up. We understand what it takes to get into recovery, and we have employed the same tried and tested true principles in recovery treatment and haven't really wavered from what works. And I believe that's what's made us successful. And we continue to grow and be successful every single year. Our retention and our numbers just continue to expand. So
that's amazing. I'm aware of how many treatment centers have come and gone. I mean, in the industry over the last 2 decades. So it's incredible you survived and made it work that long. It's an enormously...
Even since COVID hit, we are stronger than ever. We have been full this entire year. Our discharges have been extremely steady, and we are an unwavering ship in the sea. I mean, we keep going, and we make change. We listen to what's needed, we make changes, we adapt, and we persevere. And I think that we translate that into our patient population.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's awesome. A sub question to that first question. What do you think are the key therapeutic modalities and treatment orientations that you use at Santé?
Well, coming into a residential facility, we have them for a very short time. So it is about getting them short, relatively speaking. In a person's, addiction, we have them anywhere from 60 to 90 days. Okay. So when someone's coming in with an addiction or facing the consequences of an addiction, I have them for a split second in residential in terms of what it takes to be in recovery.
Yes.
So our modalities are EMDR, neurobiofeedback, narrative therapies, anything to get them grounded in the moment to the best of their ability. There's not a whole lot of fancy machinery that needs to take place. It's about connecting with that patient, understanding what that patient needs, understanding their hurting, and getting them grounded. So that's the majority of what we do, especially in the first 30 days, is grounded. And all the numbers that we have put together have shown that the sooner we get them into an EMDR process, if they can tolerate it and they're appropriate for it, the better for them and the better for the retention. Yeah. So it's really about groundedness because, neurologically, they're all over the place for the first 30 days. They don't know their name, even though they think they do. They don't, So it's really connecting with them and getting them in. So that's our primary modality. I work a lot with my staff. I don't teach them necessarily how to do therapy. I am constantly teaching them what's getting in the way of you connecting with your patient to where you can understand where they're coming through and get your own stuff out of the way. So I'm constantly monitoring countertransference. I'm constantly monitoring, you know, what's going on in their lives, so they can have a clear slate to connect with the patient who's there.
That's amazing. What I hear there, Avery, is you really pushing your staff continuing to do their work. Would that be accurate?
100%.
Hallelujah.
100%.
I'm thrilled to hear you say that.
Yes.
I'm sure we both have heard over the years
Yes.
of the odd therapist or two who has lots and lots of letters after their name, but can't necessarily build that therapeutic bridge.
If I'm not able to connect with you in an interview, if I'm not able to connect with, I mean, everyone who comes in is going to have a graduate degree. Everyone who comes in is going to have a PhD. They can have an alphabet soup. They can have all these, but if I can't sit with you and I don't resonate with who you are, and I can't get a feel for you, and I get a feel that you maybe don't take feedback very well, and you don't know how to take direction, and, you know, just know what your biases are and things like that, probably not going to work on my team.
Beautiful.
Because I need you to be clearly, you know, as honest as you can be in the moment about what's going on with you in relation to this population, because this is a difficult, painful, you know, pain-filled population that needs comfort. They need unconditional positive regard. They don't need judgment, and they need someone to see them objectively and not get their own stuff in the way to the best of their ability.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That is, if the interview ended right now, I'd be happy just to hear what you say, because I've been in treatment. I've been in residential treatment, Tweety Bird, yes. I've been in residential treatment 3 times in my life, and I've had good experiences, but there are plenty of people that don't.
Plenty of people that don't.
Yeah, and I do understand that the link, but I mean, what do they say? More than 50% of the potential successful outcome of any therapy is based in the therapeutic alliance. And
Absolutely.
I would say it's probably a lot more than that, but that's what they say, whoever they are.
Whoever they are. And, you know, I think what makes us unique also as a treatment center is that when someone comes in the state of Texas, in the United States, you have got to be licensed to treat chemical dependency. They have to have a chemical dependency to come in if they're going to use benefits and insurance. So when people come in, I often have therapists who have worked in other residential treatment centers say, well, I never had people this sick in my other treatment center. And I said, no, you did. You just didn't attend to it. Okay? I said, because when someone comes in, we look at how are they eating? How are they sleeping? Is their eating disordered? What are their sexual issues? Are there problematic sexual issues that are combining with the chemical dependency? We are true dual diagnosis. What is their diagnosis? How is that interplaying? So we're not just taking someone who's doing drugs and alcohol and saying, okay, here, work the steps and get well. We are looking at the entire person and how they function. Where are they dissociating? Where are they hiding out? Where are they getting it? You know, it's like, I need a holistic view of this person. And I have to teach them in some cases how to do that, but I want you to focus on all of it. Because if you don't attend to the sexual acting out, if you don't attend to the purging and of exercises, you're missing a huge component on how that person's going to function when they leave. So I would say that's one of our big differences is we look at all of it.
Beautiful.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Thank you. That's okay. It happens to news anchors. It can happen to us, Avery. It's fine.
You are so easy to talk to. I love it. Thank you so much for making this comfortable.
Well, why make life difficult when with a little effort you can make it bloody impossible? Is a saying that I've lived with for too long.
That's right.
I try and make it easy these days.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. How has Santé changed over the years? And what do you think keeps Santé relevant?
Over the years, when we first, you know, the biggest change that we've had is that as managed care came more into the picture, we did have to modify how long we expected people to stay in treatment. Our values haven't changed. The fact that we will work with the hardest clients that have been kicked out of other places, they can come to us and we will go to the edge of the earth with them. We do not administratively discharge easy. You have to really do something that puts us another person in danger. The other piece is that, so our values haven't changed. How we've had to maintain the business structure has changed because we've had to take insurance, but our assignments are the same. Our expectations are the same. We actually ask you to invest in yourself above and beyond what insurance is going to pay. Set up a payment plan with us, stay the course, stay in treatment. And because of our mentality, because of our ability to, we did that for 20 years. We had cash pay for 20 years. And so it was not uncommon for someone to come for 6 to 9 months. Well, when we had to start taking insurance, we then had to shift the mentality of, well, we're not going to let you go just because the insurance company says they're not going to pay. We want you to invest in yourself. And so we do have a model where people go down to the business office, they will work out payment plans, and they will stay the course of treatment up to 60, 70, 80 days, paying out of pocket, which is unheard of in other treatment centers, because once insurance is done, the culture is, okay, well, we don't have anything else for them. Not true. I can make a curriculum for someone to stay 6 months if they can afford to stay.
Amazing.
And they're willing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, Avery, what can a patient expect from phone call to discharge? Give me a typical example of what a patient can expect.
Phone call to discharge, when they do call Santé, they will talk with someone in the intake department. Intake, all of them are master's level therapists. All of them can take them through the assessment process, get them engaged. That's our first point of contact. So it's extremely important for us to have people who can connect over the phone. And who can understand what kind of pain this person might be in. Not get frustrated with the fact that they might be inconsistent during the admissions process. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of questions during admission. They have, well, can I work? And what about my children? And, you know, the level of patience in our intake department is beyond compare. So once they have connected with someone in intake and we bring them in, they're introduced to our nursing staff to do an assessment for level of care. So they are with our nursing staff who have been there for, I think our director of nursing has been there for 15 years. So, you know, has trained her staff how to connect with the patients. We then assign them to a case manager. Now, I don't call them therapists, we call them case managers, because my expectation is they manage their entire case. Mm-hmm. Meaning, so it's not social work, it's still therapy, but I need you to connect with the family. I need you to connect with the lawyer. I need you to connect with who are the players here. I need the whole picture, not just the person sitting in front of you. So my expectation for my staff is that I want you to know all the players. I want you to know where the system is weak, because this is a systemic issue. This is not a person sitting in front of you issue. What needs to be attended to. Once those pieces are figured out, we have an entirely separate family therapy department that offers 3 levels of family care that goes all the way from an informative lecture once a week online to 3 individual sessions to then an intensive family therapy session, which is 10 hours of intensive therapy with the identified issues that need to be resolved in order for this person to be safe. So in order for that to happen, in order for that to be conceptualized, my case managers need to know every single piece of this person's life. Mm-hmm. And where the leverage is and where the problems are and things like that. I have a dedicated aftercare planner whose sole job is aftercare, is meeting with the patients every 30, 60, 90 days and as needed to really firm up what's aftercare going to look like. We put a tremendous amount of effort into deciding which each patient is going to need for aftercare. And if that means they need to move back, do they need transitional or sober living? Do they need a psychiatrist? Can they just go to a general practitioner? We're very detailed on what this person needs. Do they need a couples therapist? Do they need individual therapy? So there's a lot of effort put into discharge planning. Once the person discharges, if they stay within our system, we do have an IOP, and we do have a transitional living, which has been very successful for people to be able to stay in our system for up to 3 years, and their life is completely transformed by the end of those 3 years. Or if they go off to another facility, we have an alumni coordinator. That's her sole job, is to call patients after discharge, after 2 weeks, after 6 weeks, and after 12 weeks. Just to check in with them, see how they're doing, kind of keeping tabs. We have an alumni group every Tuesday night, and then we have alumni yoga every Thursday night. So along with all the alumni events. So we have worked really hard and diligently at making sure that every phase of what is necessary for recovery, we have fully developed within our system.
Avery, your IOP and your transitional living, where is that in relation to the main treatment center?
It is 7 miles away.
Okay.
We are in Argyle, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, Texas. The transitional living is in Denton, Texas. And there is a university called the University of North Texas, and it is transitional living is on that campus. So you have access to school. Denton, for those who don't know Denton, Texas, is a wonderful small town. It's like a small Austin. And you can walk, public transportation. There's no shortage of jobs in Texas. There's no shortage of making a living, going to school. So it's ideally located. So wherever this person wants to go in their life, we're there to support them. We're there to get their educational needs met, vocational needs met in a structured living environment.
Beautiful. Awesome. You might have already answered this, but this question is the next on my list here. What can families expect? And what level of interaction with the family do you have during the client stay? You talked about the case manager talking to the families. Maybe answer it just briefly. What can from the family's perspective, what can a family expect from you?
So when a family can expect that when the patient enters the treatment center, that they will be contacted within 24 hours, mindful of consent. So let's say consent's on board. They will get contacted within 24 hours by the primary case manager. They will also be contacted within 48 hours by the family communications coordinator. The coordinator lets them know of all the family programming, lets them know that she will be a point of contact for them in case they can't get in touch with the therapist. And the therapist sets up weekly check-ins or whatever works for the family in terms of communication with the patient. We then go into the family programming. They have 3 individual sessions that are general psychoed, keeping them as abreast as they can of what the patient is learning before they go into the intensive portion and work on what resonates for their family and what needs to be unpacked in order for them to be as successful as they can. There should not be a week that there is not communication.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
That's very, very clear. You've also talked about this. The question I've got here is, how proactive is your aftercare? You've already answered that. It sounds very proactive.
Extremely proactive.
Let's go on to this. How, in any particular way you feel, maybe this is also pointing to your uniqueness as a center, but how would you say that your treatment is customized to an individual patient's needs?
Okay, so while there are certain hallmarks of addiction that I think any professional can recognize, got to remember that every single person I conceptualize as a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, I'm going to find some hallmarks, but who are you? Okay, so for example, we will have someone who comes in who has had some issues with drugs and alcohol in the past, but quickly realize that their primary is mental health, right? How do they cope with the mental health? How do they cope with the PTSD? So we really, that's where I push, when I was talking to you about the beginning, I really push my case managers to get to know who you're working with, because these are not cookie cutter. Addiction might look cookie cutter, but it's not. Every single person has their own factors. You've got to get to know them. You've got to work with the medical providers to get the diagnosis and see really where are they suffering the most? What is going to get in their way the most of being successful once they walk out of here? And some people will surprise you. You might look at someone and say, oh, well, they won't have that problem. And they sure do. You don't know, but you have to, it's like, as a therapist, I have to be clear on who you are before I can go in and try to help you. And giving you a step 1 with no regard for what you really might be suffering with would just be short-sighted. And so even though we have developed a very strong curriculum, I often tell my therapists, if that assignment does not work for that person, do not give it to that person because you're wasting their time. What do they need? So we have had people who have come in who have severe PTSD, and we can't even get to the addiction work until we get them grounded. And maybe bipolar disorder, or maybe they are on a meth-induced psychosis. We just have to kind of wait and see where the pieces land and treatment plan around that. That's
fabulous. Having been on the receiving end of a little bit of therapy in some years gone by, it is lovely to hear how personally you take it.
Absolutely. Every individual is their own individual. I cannot put anybody in a category. It just doesn't work that way. So
to me, in my own recovery, I believe that, this is just my personal belief for a second, I believe that recovery is helping an individual rediscover themselves.
Yes.
And therefore, it has to be individualized to some degree, because every single human being is an individual.
That's right. And I think that, I've worked at other treatment centers, and, their model was bring the patient in, tell them what it takes to get sober, and, send them on their way. We bring them in, we find out who they are and what they need and tailor it to them. Beautiful. Now, does a lot of it look the same? Of course, there's a universal experience going on, but there could be somebody who is, just in terms of looking at sexual acting out. I've got to give different interventions to someone who's an exhibitionist versus someone who is masturbation by porn only. That's a different animal. So you have got to differentiate and really be able to have the hard conversations and really dig deep and be comfortable enough to ask people, how, what does your life look like? And not be able to, not shy away from any subject around that. And I think that's part of what I teach my therapists also, is that you have to go in and you have to say things that you would normally not think you have to say, and be comfortable with it, or else you're going to just freak them out. Just be cool. Be cool, honey bunny.
If I'm a patient sitting there and I say something that I've done and my therapist looks horrified, I'm going to be...
You're going to feel this big,
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, last couple of questions here. Avery, what are some of the greatest challenges Santé faces today? And not necessarily biased by COVID, but what are the greatest challenges you think you face as a treatment?
We have so much competition. Yeah. There is competition everywhere. Just got another email that so-and-so just opened an IOP, and there's a residential, and and you can edit this out, but Meadows, Texas is an hour away from us, and all this other stuff. Okay. We stay relevant by showing up, connecting to the people who come to our doorstep, and persevering on. And I just keep it very simple. You do your own work, you connect with your patients, the results will speak for themselves. If you're not grounded, they're not grounded. It's all about connection and groundedness.
I love that.
That's it. It's really that simple. You stay grounded, they stay grounded, and we do the work. And whoever's supposed to be in your group, or whoever's supposed to show up at our door, that's who's supposed to show up at our door. I don't worry about the competition. I don't worry about that necessarily, because I know our product. I believe in our product 1,000%. I know we do it better than anyone there. I have no doubt about that. It doesn't even occur to me that you do it better than us. And I'm not necessarily an egotistical person. I just know what we do. And the other challenge is, it is challenging having, a co-ed facility. We have 54, they're co-eds. We do attend to sexual acting out. We do attend and recognize that people have offending behavior. Well, one of the natural consequences is if you have someone who has offending behavior in the same group with someone who's a sexual abuse survivor, how do you navigate that? Yeah. How do you navigate the families who have these ill-conceived ideas of what it is to have a sexual acting out behavior? That does not make you a predator, does not make you a perpetrator. So how do you dispel that? So working a lot with the therapist on how to frame with families that this is just a behavior probably based on a traumatic reaction, probably based on dissociation. It is not a judgment. So when you do have someone who is, sex addict, or, I say that because it's on a DSM. So when you do have someone with problematic sexual behavior, how do you integrate them back into society that is going to judge them if they knew? In a microcosm where that's happening. Okay. The other challenge, the very real challenge, is how do you stop them from coming together and getting very connected within that environment? Again, attending to what's going on in the milieu, getting underneath what that's about for them and how they're probably fulfilling a need, and getting to the therapeutic reason as to why they're doing things, and starting to teach them how your behavior indicates what's going on with you emotionally. Okay, and making those connections. So on one hand, it could be difficult at times. Not really. We have a pretty stable community. But when it happens, it's a growth opportunity. It's not something to run away from. It's not something to hide under the table. We face our fears, we face reality, and we move on. So.
Avery, thank you very much. We are pretty much at time. Can you just, just 1 minute perhaps about your staff, your training and experience of your staff, real quick?
Yeah, so all of our staff are either master's or PhD level. Mm-hmm. They all are EMDR trained. We do have some people that have gotten some training in dealing with problematic sexual behaviors. We do have some that are certified in DBT. So we have the basic modalities. But overall, these are employees or therapists that understand what it takes to work in residential treatment. They don't get rattled. They don't get, overwhelmed. They know that it is a very tough time in a person's life, and they're extremely dedicated. They work as a team brilliantly, and they're people that know what they're doing. So.
From what you've described in the last 20 minutes, I have no doubt about that. Avery, thank you so much. I believe Santé means health in French. Is that? Or
yes.
That's why, hence the name of the center. Well, I feel healthy just talking to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Avery, a closing comment?
Just thank you for having me, and thank you for everything that SASH does to, inform therapists and inform the world on sexual matters that some therapists and some people really don't understand, and then hence don't want to talk about, and hence it doesn't get uncovered and resolved. So appreciate the work y'all do.
It's been a pleasure for me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Keep well, and we will speak again soon. I'm going to stop this, but I'll hang around for a second. Avery, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.